There's a caller you know by name. You know their number when it comes up, and you know their situation. And for a long time, the calls were fine. They're upset about something real, and so you help where you can. And the call ends, but then somewhere along the way, the calls start to change. The same person who used to just vent starts getting sharper with you, a little more frustrated each time, and a little more personal. And you can't point to the day that it changed because it didn't change on any one day. It changed slowly over a lot of calls until one afternoon, you see their number come up and you feel yourself brace before you even pick up. And you know this person. A lot of us do. And what makes it hard is this. For a long time, you assume the best of them. And maybe you should. Maybe they're going through something that you can't see. Maybe they don't have anyone else to talk to. Or maybe there's more going on for them than one phone call could ever reveal. All of that can be true, but it can also be true that the calls are getting harder to take and that you go home carrying something from them that doesn't fully let you go. Both of those things are real at the same time. And holding both is part of what wears you down. I'm Tammy Brewington, founder of People First Workflow, and I spent years in roles where these were the calls that filled my day. And I had callers exactly like this. One in particular that I'll never forget is someone who lived in a hard, isolated situation who called again and again. And over months, the calls turned from hard to hostile. And I remember the pull of it, the part of me that worried about them, right next to the part of me that dreaded hearing their voice. So I want us to stay with that pattern and what that pattern actually is and why it costs so much and what should be there to catch it. So, why does a caller like this slowly turn? Let's stay with that for a moment. A lot of the time, it's the same thing underneath. They keep calling because whatever they need has not been resolved. And each time they call and it's still not resolved, they get a little more frustrated. And the frustration has nowhere to go except the person who answers, which is you. You didn't cause the problem. And most of the time, you can't fix it from where you sit, but you're the voice they reach. So you become the place all of that frustration goes. And you start to see it building before anyone else does. You hear the tone change over weeks. You notice the calls getting longer and going nowhere. And you can feel where this is heading because you're the one living it call after call. And then comes the hardest part. You can see the pattern clearly from your seat, but the people above you can't. Why? Well, because they're not the ones in the calls. To them, it's one caller among many, just a name on a list. And so you keep taking the calls and you keep absorbing the worst of it. And nothing changes until it finally gets bad enough that someone decides to act. And by then, you've been carrying it for a long time. And I think we have to ask the honest question. Why does it so often have to get that bad before anything is done? Why is the person taking the calls expected to hold a situation like this alone for months and no plan for what to do as it gets worse? And I want you to really hear me on this. You didn't fall or fail at anything here. This isn't really about one bad manager. It's what's happening when there's no structure built for the caller who slowly turns. So the whole weight of it rests on whoever picks up the phone. So what can we do about it? What helps here is not trying harder to stay pleasant through it. What helps is having language ready for the moment a call crosses a line so that you're not searching for words while someone is coming at you. What's needed is a few clear, respectful things that you can say to hold a boundary and still treat the person with dignity. A way to name what's happening and move the call somewhere instead of taking it and taking it until you have nothing left. That kind of language is something that you can have in front of you so that you're not improvising every time. That's part of why I built the difficult caller script pack with boundary phrases for exactly this kind of caller. Because no one should have to come up with those words in the moment again and again while they're the one observing it. So if you've noticed that you've got a caller like this right now, and you feel yourself bracing when their number comes up, that feeling is not you being dramatic or unkind. It's you noticing a real pattern early, one that the structure around you should have a plan for and usually doesn't. You've been holding something that was never meant to rest on one person, and noticing it is the first honest step, not a weakness. That was one kind of pressure. But next, I want us to turn to a pressure that comes from inside the building because a lot of the hardest work that you do all day isn't for customers at all. It's for your own coworkers in other departments. And it's the part of the job that never shows up anywhere. That's where I want us to go next. So stay with me.